succeed in entering the French food market. It is organized by Entreprise Europe Network and the Paris Region Chamber of Commerce of Paris. The objective of this webinar is to help you to succeed in your trade negotiation and optimize your participation to the world's largest food innovation exhibition, the CIAL. So we're going to be two speakers, and the agenda is, at first, you will hear Mrs. Isabelle Senon, who is Director of Study at the French Retail Federation. This is the biggest federation of retail in France, and it gathers the most major retailers, whatever food or specialized. So after I will speak about intercultural issues and strategic approach. I will have the occasion at this time to introduce myself more longer. So maybe Isabelle, you can begin.
Yes. Okay.
Okay. So
thank you. Yes, it's okay for you, Bernard.
Oh, just one little thing before you begin. I forgot. Sorry, to introduce my colleague Thérèse Lam. We're here on the screen, and my colleague Irina Laroche. Irina will do a special announcement during the webinar, but it will be in the middle of the webinar. Sorry, Isabelle. So apologize, and
Okay.
I give you the mic just right now.
So good afternoon, everybody. I'm going to share my screen. I'll try to do so. I think it's okay now for you. Yes? You tell me if it's correct? Yes. Okay. Okay, thank you. So
Yes.
I'll begin the presentation. To begin, just a few words about the FCD, the Fédération du Commerce et de la Distribution, which is a professional, as Bernard said, federation that represents retailers at the national level. We have more than 50 members, food retailers like Auchan, Carrefour, Casino, etc., and also non-food retailers like GoSport, Decathlon, Galeries Lafayette. So my presentation will have 4 main sections, one on key data, another one on recent developments, after a breakdown in consumption and societal trends. So the key data, in this section, I will try to explain you the organization very quickly of the food retail in France. So first of all, this beautiful table explains the typology of food retail in France. In fact, this is the official classification made by INSEE. INSEE is our National Institute of Statistics. So on your left, you can see the sales area. There are 4 major groups ranging from less than 120 square meters to 2,000 and 1,500 square meters. And on the x-axis, there are 2 groups relative to the part of sales. So hyper and supermarkets are on the right, more than 100 square meters and more than 2/3 of sales in food products. That's for the official classification. The food retail in France, food retail in France is a very important sector in terms of economic activity. As you can see here, the turnover is 2,020 billion euros, excluding the taxes, in 2019, and the added value was 33 billion euros. In terms of employment, the sector is also significant, with more than 730,000 jobs, representing approximately 3.6% of private employment in France. Yep. this slide, I wanted to put the share of grocery retail into perspective. We have here a few examples of different sectors. For instance, on the top, you see the blue bar. The supermarket and supermarkets represent around 50% of the French production of pork meat, and the green bar represents the weight of hypermarket and supermarkets on the internal market. So we see that grocery retail represents more than 70% of the sales in volume in France on the internal markets, and around 30% go to out-of-home restaurants, HoReCa, etc., and specialized retailers. So I just wanted to tell you here that the food retail in France is far from being the only business outlet for farmers and for manufacturers in France. On these slides, we have the share of food retail in value on food markets and non-food markets. So on the left, we see that non-specialized food retailers represent 69% of the French food market. And this market share has decreased between 2016 and 2021 by 3.5 points. On the right, it's the non-food market. The market share of hyper and supermarkets is now about 13%. It's very weak. It was 18% 10 years ago. The sector, hypermarket and supermarket, have been challenged by specialist channels and also by online sales. Now, we have the breakdown of hypermarket and supermarket sales. So they mainly sell food products for 85%, and especially FMCG, fast-moving consumer goods. It's around 67% in value. And non-food products represent only 13% of the sales, and this share is, of course, decreasing. On this slide, it's about the number of stores in France. So two main lessons. Firstly, almost 11,000 towns in France have at least one generous food stores. And secondly, we can find food store everywhere in France, from big cities to the smallest villages. We found them in center towns for the smaller stores, convenience stores, and of course in urban periphery. And on the right is just some data about the numbers of stores. So we see that in France we have 2,300 hypermarkets, almost 6,000 supermarkets, and 3,400 discounters. We call them now supermarchés à dominante marque propre. And also more than 4,000 drives. Drives is a click and collect channel in France. Speaking about drive, just a few words about the online sales for food products. So in France, we have this very specific channel with the drive. It's in fact click and collect. You order online and then you pick up in stores or just near the stores. And the market shares of drives is now around 8%, which represents more than 11 billion euros. So now all the retailers have developed the drive concept, as you can see on the right. And the leader in France is Leclerc. And after you find Carrefour, Intermarché, etc. And just one word, in contrast, the market share of home delivery of food product is very low in France. It's less than 1%, in fact. The business model is not yet profitable. So here we see the market share. We have the key players in France and the market share on fast-moving consumer goods in value. We see that Leclerc and Carrefour are dominant with a market share which is about 20%. And after you will find Intermarché, Système U, etc. And just an information about the organization of the different groups. There are two major types of retailers in France: centralized group like Carrefour, Casino, Auchan, and the other ones are cooperatives of independent retailers like Leclerc, Intermarché, and Système U. So the big difference is the centralized group Auchan, Casino, Carrefour are highly internationalized. More than half of their turnover comes from sales at the international level. Just an example, Casino has been present in Colombia since 1999. It's in the country's leading food retailer. Here we see that the profitability of hypermarkets tends to decrease year after year. We see that it decreased by 6.5% in 6 years. But just, in fact, it's not exactly the profitability, but it's the turnover per square meter. But the message is very clear. Year after year, it becomes more difficult for the French hypermarkets. In fact, the competition has become more intense during the past years. Another slide about employment. As I told you at the beginning, food retailers are very important employers in France. We see here that the employment in food retail continues to grow. There are almost now 680,000 employees, and all of them work in hypermarkets, in fact. That's the main channel. One more slide here to understand the French market. I just forgot to change the title of the slide. In fact, you must read the premium ranges are no longer driving private label sales. So on the left, you have the private label market share. This market share has been declining for 7 years between 2013 and 2020. It's now about 32% in value 1 year ago. This decrease was due to a stronger competition by national brands, especially in the core market. But with the COVID crisis and the inflation crisis now, consumers again buy now more private label, in fact. And on the right, we see that premium and organic private labels are now decreasing when they have been gaining market share in the last 7 years. And on the contrary, private labels MDD, standard, and first prices, premier prix, are gaining ground again. So now it's the second part. It's about recent developments, markets, etc. So I'm going to give you some background information about the economic situation in France very quickly. As you can see on the graph on your right, in September, households' confidence decreased again, and it's now far above its long-term average. The long-term average is 100, and the index is now around 80 points, which is very low. So the share of household considering it's a suitable time to save has increased a little bit in August and September, but the share of households considering it's a suitable time to make major purchases, such as new car, furniture, etc., has been dropping for several months, which is not very good news for the consumption in France. This slide is just meant to understand the share of food expenditure on a global consumption. In France, we hear a lot about the fact that the share of food expenditure is constantly falling. This is actually not true. You can see here that it's quite stable, close to 16% for food consumption at home, and close to 21% if we add expenditure in a restaurant outside the home. This is the second largest expenditure item for French people after housing. Here we see that the budget, the annual budget for food at home is quite high. It's 2,700 euros. It's very close to the Italian budget, but much more than German or Britain budget. And on the right, we have the four major categories of food product: meat, fruit and vegetables, sea product, etc. And we see that they are almost the same in different European countries. The first or second position is generally for meat or fruit and vegetable, the third position for bread and cereal, and the number 4 for dairy products and eggs in different European countries. Now, a few words about the growth of hyper and supermarket in France. As we can see, there was a very strong acceleration in the growth in 2020. It's not a surprise. The sales increased by 6% in value and 5% in volume. And this acceleration is fully linked to the lockdown period during the spring of 2020. The closure of the restaurants, the school, the development of teleworking, etc., led to a boom in the demand for home consumption. The year after, in 2021, the trend has logically been less beneficial to hypermarket and supermarkets. And now this downward trend in volume continues this year in 2022, due this time to inflation, of course, problems of purchasing power, and new spending choices for French people. Here we have the same data, in fact, but it is a decomposition in 2022 of sales growth to mid-August, in fact. We see that there is, of course, an increase in value, but a decrease in volume by 1.7%, and a price effect of 3.3%, essentially linked to inflation, more than 3%. But the problem is that the valuation effect has disappeared. In recent years in France, consumption has moved upmarket with more purchases of quality product like organic product, regional product, local product, etc. And this is no longer the case today. Consumers are shifting their consumption to cheaper products, which explains that this valuation effect has disappeared. Just a point here on the level of net margin for French food retailers on French products. So we see that these net margin are very weak. The average was 1.6% in 2020. And you see also on the left that French retailers lose money on certain segments, on the fish counter, bakery, and the meat counter also. This is explained in particular by the high share of labor, in fact, in the global cost in these three segments. So now we will have a few words about the breakdown in food consumption. Before talking about the recent consumption trends, here we have the segmentation of the overall food expenditure of the French. It's divided between consumption at home and consumption outside the home. So we see that the weight of out-of-home catering was close to 29% before the COVID crisis. And it has increased sharply over the last 30 years, plus 6.4 points since 1990. And hyper and supermarkets account, in fact, for less than half of the food market. And the other channels are specialized stores, convenience stores, etc. Now, the markets. Let's have a look on what happened in France in recent months in terms here of consumption at home. On the first graph on the left, we have the consumption of meat in volume. This consumption had been declining for 7 years in a row, and suddenly it increased by 7% in volume in 2020. Of course, this boom in consumption was linked to the period, again, of containment, lockdown in France, etc. And of course, the situation is not the same today. After a decline by more than 5% last year, the trend is still downward this year. With a decrease by 8% during the first quarter of this year. On the graph below, we have kind of segmentation of the different type of meat. We see that the frozen meat was very dynamic in 2020. The poultry was also very dynamic. But now with the reopening of restaurants, etc., plus the inflation crisis, the trend is reversing for all segments, and French are buying less meat. Now, concerning fruit and vegetable, we see an increase in fruit purchases over the first 7 months of 2022, plus 7% compared to last year. So the beginning of the year was quite interesting for the fruit market, with a high level of production in France and a small decline in prices. But we also have a drop in vegetable purchases, a drop by 5% compared to 2021. And it's the same thing for potatoes. The purchases are down by 11%. For seafood products, no surprise, the trend is also declining this year. Fresh fish, frozen, canned fish, etc. All segments are down. And the dairy product trend is part. The market for dairy products also increased in 2020, decreased last year, and is still decreasing now by 5% to the end of August. And the sales in volume have fallen below the 2019 level. And on the right, we have a segmentation. We see that the growth in 2021 and the first 8 months of this year, all segments are affected by the decline, with the exception of milk powder. So now, a few words about the societal trends, the expectation of French consumers, etc. To start with, so some figures from different surveys that show the relationship of consumers with agriculture and the expectations as consumers. So in green, we see that 90% of French people have a good opinion of farmers. 71% are willing to pay more for food to ensure a fair remuneration for farmers, but not that the survey was conducted before the inflation crisis at the beginning of the year. And 87% are proud of their region's products. But 79% of French people say that the food they eat is likely to harm their health. And 67% of poor households today cannot afford a healthy diet for 3 meals a day. And 58% French people have been forced to make choices regarding their food expenditure due to the increase in prices over the last few months. This is a very recent survey. The date is September 2022. On this slide, I have taken some data from a McKinsey survey from June. So we see that rising prices have become the #1 concern for European consumers, with 53 in 5 countries in June: France, UK, Germany, Italy, Spain, compared to 44 in March of the same years. However, the level of concern varies in the different countries. It is lowest in Italy, 42%, and very high in the UK, 67%. France is in the European average, in fact. And the second source of concern is the invasion of Ukraine, 15% at European level in June, compared to 24% in April, a few months ago. Here, another survey in France this time. So in July, French people, 85% of French people say they are worried about their purchasing power, compared to 71% 1 year ago, which is one of the main subjects of concern for the French, along with climate change, 86%, and the future of young people, 85% also. Purchasing power is, of course, a concern that is more prevalent among the working classes, for 90% of the people, but it also affects the majority of the wealthy classes, for 83%. So it's really everybody. Again, here, data from the McKinsey survey. It's about the new consumption choices of Europeans. So these consumption choices include downgrading, in fact. The consumer choose now more private labels, first prices, and also other distribution channels such as discount, second-hand, etc. But they also reduce the quantities they purchase. And according to this survey, 39% of consumers believe that they will reduce their spending on non-essential products in the next months, and 48% believe that they will save less over the next months, which is quite logical. So, nevertheless, as far as the food is concerned, quality remains a priority in France. That's good news. Among the different factors for choosing a food distribution channel, quality is in first place and price in second place. That's good news. So, just a few words about some trends, consumption trend we see in France. Among the big trends, in fact, we have the flexitarianism movement. So it's something we observe in France, but also in other European countries. People tend to eat less meat. And it was, before the crisis, it was already the case. You see, we have 24% of French people who consider themselves as flexitarian. In other terms, they continue to eat meat, but they eat less meat. They are not they are not vegetarians, in fact. The big trend on the food market, it's the organic market. This market has soared over the last 10 years. The consumption of organic food products was close to 13 billion euros in 2020, compared with less than 3.4 billion in 2010. So it has been multiplied by 4 in the space of 10 years, while overall food consumption increased only by 22% over this period. And you can note that hyper and supermarkets represent no more than 55% of these organic sales in France. But the trend is now reversing. The market declined by 1.3% last year. And we also see that this decline continues now this year with a drop by 5.6% in sales of organic product during the first 8 months of the year in supermarkets. So if the expectation on prices and purchasing power are very high, French consumers are also looking for natural products. They would rather prefer raw products to prepared dishes, seasonal product, local producer, etc. They would like to consume more organic products, but it's very expensive. And 48% would like to eat to be more flexitarian, in fact, to reduce this meat consumption, as I said before. And this is my last slide. It's a very quick overview of the market in hyper and supermarket for world food product. It's a rather dynamic market, but for the last few months, given the crisis, it has been declining. As you can see on the right, it's a decline by 3% in value. Declined by 5% for Japanese product, Tex-Mex by 7%, etc. But nevertheless, 80% of French people have already consumed world products, and 69% have bought world products in supermarkets. So it remains an interesting market, even if there is this crisis, this purchasing power crisis today. So that was my last slide. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Isabelle, for this very interesting presentation and very detailed and very accurate on all these figures. Maybe Irina, you have some question selected among all the questions asked by the
Yes, Isabelle,
participants?
thank you for the presentation. As for questions, I only saw the question about presentations. Will you able to provide your presentation with the participants of this webinar? Yes?
Yes, for me
Great.
it's okay.
So that's the most frequently asked question. So if we have any other questions, we will ask you at the end of the webinar.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So can you see my screen of presentation? It's okay?
Yes, we can see it. Everything is good.
Yes, okay. So let me introduce myself. My name is Bernard Quinet. I'm the manager of Department of Paris Chamber of Commerce and Paris and Region that's called Doing Business in Paris. And I'm also a partner of Entreprise Europe Network as an advisor. So the aim of my presentation is to share my 12 years of experience in organizing B2B meetings with foreign companies. My core business is, I just said, to organize B2B meetings between foreign companies and French buyers, to organize special events as testing session, cocktail of networking, and so on, site visit and training session. So my aim today is to give you tips, to give you information, to give you a return of my experience, and you will see that the way of approaching buyers is quite a technical subject. It's not only a question of time. There are also techniques and things to know about that. So, excuse me. So this is the agenda of my intervention. So I'm gonna give you some key factors and figures about the French market. I'm gonna give you also information about intercultural element, what makes French people different, and things you have to know to adapt your strategy. Then I will give you I will provide you 3 things you should know to enter the French market. Then we will see the different way to approach the French market. And so I will develop. I can set it very quickly. Those ways by trade fair, what I call the direct approach, the organization of special event, the commercial agent, and the digital approach, and then is the tender approach. But I won't develop this part because we don't have time. Then I will give you advice how to negotiate and to follow up your relationship with the buyers. So few key figures to understand the French market. So 66.4 million of inhabitants. The age distribution, as you can read, 24% under 20 years old, 50% between 20 to 59, and 20% over. The part of people over 20 over 29 is increasing, but not so much. So you have then a landscape of the age distribution. You'll see that we are organized in 13 regions, and we have 101 departments, including the department of what we call Outre-mer. La Réunion, for example. So it's important to know that we are a certain region. It means that there is not one market called France, but there is a market, for my opinion, that is divided in each region. But I will give you more information about that. Then you can see that we are 29.7 million of households, and which 35% are single. This is an important information for you, because when you adapt your food product, you have to take into account that an important part of the population is constituted by single people. So you have to adapt the offer you give to them. This map is to show you that the French market is, you can see Paris and region, that is almost 30% of the global of the GDP. But you also see that the GDP is the repartition is quite balanced between big cities, big regions as Bordeaux, Toulouse, Lyon, Dijon, Rouen. You have to notice that this important this information is important because, for example, you see the town of Lyon, which is an important region, particularly in the food sector, because historically, a part of the French cooking come from Lyon, and most of recipes come from what we call la cuisine lyonnaise. You have in the town of Lyon a big trade fair in the field of food, and so when you consider the French market, of course, Paris and region is a gateway, and I will explain you why you have to begin by this market, but you have also to keep in mind that you have other market, and Lyon is one of these. You have to know two specificities of the French market to understand this market. The first one, this map is from ANIA, the National Association of Food Industry. It lasts from 2 years, but the repartition is still true. What we see that for 500,000 farms in France, 17,647. So it's accurate numbers of food business. We only have for central retailing that share, not 92.5%. This figure is not true anymore, but it's still around 70%. I checked this figure with Isabelle before the meeting. So you have to know that 70% of the market is belong to 4 big brands. I think Isabelle said Leclerc, Carrefour, Intermarché, Système U. Those big brands, the hierarchy changing. It depends on the alliance that they have together. So the information that you have to get is this part of the market of the big retailers is very competitive. Maybe you have to think of reach the French market by the 30% constituted by fine grocery, importers, distributor, commercial agent, and so on. In an other way to say that is to say maybe attack the market by the head, by the quality, by the premium, and then you can go to the mass market that is more competitive. The other fact that you have to know, it's we have a particularity here in France is to have the biggest food market in the world that is called Rungis. Rungis is a market for fresh food products. You can see fruit and vegetable, meat, seafood, dairy products, fine grocery, bio, and flowers. It gather 1,200 businesses, wholesaler, producer, importers, and so on. So to give you an idea of what is the size of the Rungis market and the importance of the Rungis market, they provide 18 millions of consumers each day, and the Rungis market realize 9 billion of turnover a year. You see, so you have to have those figures in your mind, and then you can see that 50% of the buyers are Americans, 35 restaurants, 15% GMS, large specialized stores. You see that even GMS provide in Rungis market for fresh product, and those buyers come from 65% Île-de-France and 25 province and 10% on international on export. So you see that for fresh product, for fine grocery, the market of Rungis is a place to know. And at this step of my intervention, I will take 5 minutes to do an announcement. We have a program with Irina, and in this program, we organize a visit to the market of Rungis. And this visit is in October. And we decided to propose to the participant of this training session to participate for free at the visit of Rungis. This visit will be on the 14th of October. So if you are interested, you can see the program, but maybe Irina, can you give some details about the program of Rungis?
Yes, hello everyone. So actually we organized this visit for October 14th in order to present you the biggest fresh produce market that is near Paris. So everything is free of charge, the transportation, the breakfast and English speaking guide. So if you are interested in this visit and if you are in Paris on October 14th, please send me an email and I will give you all the details. I will leave my email in the conversation box. So, and feel free to contact me. I'm here for you. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Irina. It's a real opportunity for you. We have this opportunity because of some of our partner, and I'm very glad that you can take benefit from that. So, if you want to understand the French food market, please join to this visit. You are welcome if you are in Paris. I think Irina did that it's 2 people by company. So don't hesitate as participant of this training session to link with Irina. I will be part of. I will join this visit, and so take this opportunity. So let's continue my presentation. I will be quick on that because Isabelle already developed the subject. Just one word about the organic product. Isabelle give you the figures. What I want to say is just that today organic in a way become the norm. The consumer today want bio product, and you have bio product everywhere, and even if they are expensive, there is a real demand of the consumer. So if you want to work in the food market, it's a real advantage to be organic. Of course, the e-commerce, I will develop that because of the COVID. There is a huge increasement of the e-commerce, and this trend is strengthened by the fact that people rediscover home cooking by being at home during those 2 years. So they rediscover the fact of cook at home and buy product. And as you see, another trend is the development of world. It's not world, it's world product. Sorry for this little mistake. So read world product. The range of world product is also increasing. So it's another trend. I go quickly on that because Isabelle already spoke about that. Just one maybe about label on origin are very appreciated also by buyers and consumer. So if for your product, you have to insist of the origin, and if you have label like sustainable development, like sustainable development, organic product, and or a notion of origin from a region, of a specific region, a specific a speciality from somewhere. For example, I think about the one of Slovenia, but there are so much example. So it can be a real asset for you, this notion of label on origin. Let's go and continue. The intercultural element, things you have to know about France. The omnipresence of regulatory and legal environment. The states is everywhere. Why? Because there is the collection and redistribution and tax on social contribution. And for this this collection and redistribution, the government, the state have to be present. There's also the notion of regulation, for example, for health, and as in food business actor, of course, the government is also here to protect the consumer by the law. But you have to see the sunny side of the life always. And the sunny side is that this omnipresent regularity can be also considered as a resource, because as foreign company, you have to know that you have several agencies in charge of the promotion of attractivity, and that they are help to help foreign company to setting up in France. So if you have a project of implementation of establishment in France, you can contact, for example, Business France Invest. If it's in Paris, you can contact Choose Paris Region, or so you have to know that there are many agencies, and particularly for the attractivity, that can provide free services to foreign companies. So you have to consider in that case the state as resources. The notion of hierarchy is present in every step of the organization, in every company. What do you have to conclude with that? You have to know to who you are speaking with. It means you have to be sure that the people that you are speaking with have the power, have is the decision maker. If you don't respect this hierarchy, you will lose time, because you will have to repeat several times the same thing, and so you have to be sure of the position in the hierarchy of the person you are speaking with. There is a formalism in communication, with a culture of writing and an attachment of reference. It means that when you write emails in your communication, in your message, take time to write something pleasant. It will be appreciated by the buyers. Also, the societal role of the company. It's very important, because one figure to understand that 84% of French buyers declare being influenced by the responsive character of a brand. It's a huge figure. 84%. It means that if your product is as a label, is bio, I don't know, organic, is free from chemical element, it will make the difference. If it's handmade, if it respect the people who are manufacture it, it's very important, and it's a big argument in the negotiation. The French market is highly requested because of its attractivity. It means that it's very competitive. So it means that your product has to be either innovative or have a notion of origin. Because if you just want to compete with the price, it's not the market for. Your product have to be innovative or to have an origin. A country open to the world, but very attached to his art de vivre. That means that every French considers himself as a gourmet, especially in food. You have to know that when you communicate with consumer. We appreciate to it. It's in our culture. So think about that when you communicate about your product. And the last thing, an history centralized in Paris, but a transfer of much attribution in the region, and I already spoke about that few minutes ago. It's not just I'd like to be positive, but unfortunately, by speaking about the issue, it's also a way to go further. And I want to keep you informed about three breakdown that you can encounter for entering the French market. And by knowing them, you can skip them, you can adapt your approach. The first one is the language barrier. I think that the level of language that Isabel and I, for example, is a good example of the average level of French people. But what you have to know, it's if French people improve in the practice of a second language, it remains an issue. And you have to know that even if the buyer are speaking, speak English, they will prefer to speak French. Why? Only because they want to master the negotiation. And part of the negotiation is in the nuances. And sometimes you speak about 1 cent, 2 cents on a product. So the buyers will highly appreciate to master the negotiation. So for this case, he will prefer to speak French. Think about that, but I will develop that later. There is also something you have to know. It's the psychology of the buyers and then the cost of distribution. So I spoke about the utilization of French. So I strongly advise you to be accompanied by a translator, not for the first meeting, but for the second and the third. Yes, for the first, you will be in the step of discovering each other. So everything will be around the product, around the test of the product, and so on. So if you speak in English or another language for the first meeting, it's okay. Not for those who will follow, because of what I said before. The buyers will give the priority to the people who speak French, and it will ease the negotiation for you. And for a long-term relationship, I had someone who speaks French, or even a stagiaire, you see. After a few words about the buyer profiles, you have to know that they are highly requested. They receive in a big brand 10 or even 100 of proposals per day. So the product you propose must answer to a need or be innovative. But think about that. It's huge. So you have to make the difference. They are very, very busy, especially in some period of the year. And for example, it's hard to connect with them from November to January, because it's the period of negotiation. So it's difficult to connect them at this moment. October it's a good period. So you have chosen the right moment. So one conclusion that you have to get from that is that when you contact them, do not interpret lack of response as a negative response. If they don't respond to you, if they don't answer to you, it's because they are in a hurry, they don't have time. So be determined in the follow-up. I know it seems obvious to say that, but it's my daily work to connect with buyers, and you have to be very, very determined to connect them. They have a culture of discretion. They are not so present on social network directory database, but I will give you some tips to identify them. They have a huge turnover, and they leave their job every 3 years to either the change of product, from fresh product to dry product, from fresh product to, I don't know, sugar or things like that, or they are going to work with a competitor. Okay, so keep regular relationship, because when you will call one day the people you work with 2 years leave from the competitor, it means that you have to have a strong process to ease the transmission when your usual contact leave the companies, and you have to follow the buyer evolution, because it's also a way to enter with new buyers, with new clients. The buyers can make you enter in his new companies. But as I said, see the sunny side of life. Buyers, above all, stay curious and attentive about innovation and novelty. And because it's a part of competitivity, if they want to keep the advantage, they have to find new products to distinguish from the other competitors. So they remain curious. So touch them by their curiosity, by the test of your product, by the origin, by by your and because they remain curious and attentive, it's for them a question of surviving. I excuse me. Well, there is a slide missing, but I just want to or maybe it comes after in the presentation, but I will speak about that. The third breakdown, it's what I call the ticket of entry to the French market. It's essential for you to formalize and quantify your prospecting strategy and what you will invest in the French market, because it's something to sell a product, but you don't only sell product. You have also to embody the product. You also have to animate the product, to do animation on the point of sale, and say in another way, you have to help the buyers to sell the product. And the question of animation will be an important cost of your project in France. So think about it, because it will help you when you will be in front of the buyer. Said, I have a good product, but not only a good product, I can embody my product, I can animate my product, I can help you by participating to trade fair and to come in your shop and do degustation, for example. One very quick word, about commercial agent. It's a specific case. A commercial agent is someone who represents your company. I just want to say that one thing about that. It is complicated in France to identify a commercial agent, because you have to hire one commercial agent by big region. I mean, Paris and Paris region, north, east, south, and west of France, because usually they have a territory competence. So what I advise, if you have the project to hire a commercial agent or some commercial agent in France, you have a website called EUCAB, International Union of Commercial Agent and Broker. And there is two big association in France of commercial agent, but this one gather the two syndicates. So go on this website and you will find a lot of information about commercial agent. Oh, you see what I say about the animation, here is the logistics, service provider, and so on. So don't forget the prescribers. Almost in the food sector, influencer, blogger, journalist, cooker. You can embody your product by a chef cuisinier, for example, schools and association. I have to be very quick on that, because time is running. I won't speak about all these possible approach of the market. I will remind you why you participate at the trade fair. What do you have to wait for that? One word about the direct approach, and maybe about marketplace. So let's go. If you participate to a trade fair, and maybe it seems obvious, but it's important that your participation to be efficient. So you are you participate to the CIAL. Why? You are here to demonstrate your ability to animate and promote your product and to make it live. It's the first thing, and it's something important. You are here to show to show you innovation in this competitive market. You are here to demonstrate the strength of your business. You have the means to be there, and everybody know what cost to participate to a trade fair at CIAL, but also other smallest trade fair. So you demonstrate the strength that you have. You increase the visibility of all the players in the sector, not also buyers, but professional association, cookers, student, journalists, and so on. And you collect, of course, very precious information. And so one thing I want to say about trade fair. For those of you that participate to CIAL as exhibitor, if you come, one-shot business don't work in France. If you want to develop your business in France, you have to participate several times in a range to a trade fair, because one thing important for the buyers, they have to be reassured. Will you be still exist in 1 year, 2 years, 4 years? Because they invest on you, on your product. So I noticed that they often wait 1 year, 2 years, even more before introducing to a brand, and to go and say, hello, I'm Mr. or Mrs. X, I'm the buyer from Galeries Lafayette, from Leclerc, from Fauchon, Ediard, I don't know. I have noticed your product, you are here for several years, and so it's very important to plan your participation for several years, because in 1 year you cannot see the result. It's a long-term work. So take that in mind, and it's a tip. So it's my daily job, organize B2B meeting. So I will give you this tip to organize direct. The aim is to have a face-to-face meeting with the buyer. The methodology is very simple, but you have to the identification of potential buyers, qualification, name, collection, details, draft the offer in French, sending the offer, and do the follow-up. You see, it's not complicated, but in fact, qualification of prospect, identification, yes, it's complicated because it's not easy to find buyers. And over the complication, I want to say that it takes time. It takes time. And when you want to connect with the buyers, we forecast at doing business, we plan at doing business in Paris around 6 to 8 weeks to obtain a meeting between the first contact with the product and the meeting. So you can work with an accelerator of business, as we are doing business. We are kind of accelerator. If you do it on your own, you have to be determined and know that it takes time. Maybe you can imagine, if you are exhibitors, to organize degustation around your booth. It will be highly appreciated. And just one word about e-commerce, because due to the COVID, you see the curve, how it's booming. I'm sorry, this curve lasts for 1 or 2 years, but the movement is still in increase. So French shoppers have a very high purchasing power. They enjoy to buy online. They are educated, and they are now used to buy like that. So for foreign companies, it's very interesting way to work in France. I just want to give you some tips about that. If you work if you choose the digital approach if you put digital approach in your mix of approach, you have to translate your content in a perfect French. If you do only one mistake, it will be considered as a lack of confidence. And if the translation, sorry, is bad, the product won't be good. So it's very, very important. Provide a user-friendly mobile app. It's also important. And offer a credit card payment alongside. So the main asset, access to a fast-growing and ad-spending market. you reach customer who are confident shopping. You won't find these people in a shop, but you will find them on digital market. And you have to have an excellent logistic. People buy the digital way, but don't forget that they want to test, they want to smell, they want to test in the shop. So I think you have to consider, of course, digital approach because it's a question of competition. It's a reality, but you have to consider that as a mix, and your product has to be available in shop. Just for that people can test it. And okay, here are some databases. Siren is free. The other one is subject to fees. I can go into details. You will see that the first one is free, and it's the official site of the French state. You have all the companies by products. It is very interesting tool. If you want to identify buyers, Instagram and LinkedIn are very useful means, but not to do commercial. Okay, just to do the identification. Don't send commercial by LinkedIn; it won't be appreciated. And but to do the identification, it's a useful tool. I have to go quicker. Sources of information: trade union and professional organization. Trade show exhibitor list. Often we go to a trade fair only to get the exhibitor list, and the cluster member and partner list. Then, few advice to prepare the meeting, during the meeting, and after the meeting. And it's a feedback of my experience. And even if it seems obvious for some of you, I need to it's important for you to keep all that in mind. Have a translator. I won't insist anymore. Have a presentation of your company, innovation, market survey, consumer reference, and so on. You will have 20 minutes to convince the buyer. So all the main information must be already at disposal. Of course, you are selling food, you are selling wellness, you are selling good things, and so you have to bring samples, because the first element of choice of a buyer in food products is the product, not the price, not it's the taste, the flavor, the aspect, and or it behave in mouth. So samples are very important. Product sheet with origin, composition, patent label, because all you have to answer to the question that will be asked by the buyers. All the information must be ready, and you must be in the situation to leave something to the buyers. The delivery terms, supply chain description, of course, list of export price in delivered duty pay if possible, and basis of for business discussion. Prepare all that. It's the minimum. You will gain a precious time, and to get directly into the discussion, and keep most of the time on the product, on the test of the product, the origin of the product, the innovation of the product, and for all the rest, have that I already get those information during the meeting. If a buyer come to meet you, he has an idea. So maybe he's interested by your product, but maybe he want to compare with his own provider. Try to, as we say in France, to read between the lines, and find why he come to speak with you. Reassure him of your availability and the fact that the distance and the language won't be a break in the business relationship. The buyers want to be reassured because they will invest on you. They will invest time, money. They will take a risk. They engage their brand image. So they want they want to be reassured about the fact that you will be a confident partner. And if possible, designate a referent in your company that speaks French. If possible, the manager and the export director and so on. But try to embody and to create a relation. And I've seen in some company the buyers has difficulty to create a link because of the change of the people you speak with. So try to designate a referent. The follow-up, send a summary of everything decided during the meeting. If possible, sign something, even something light, like a MOU, even something, I said very light, but something that will engage, that show your investment in that. Make contact in case of downtown regarding all we seen about the buyer profile. It means that you saw, I show you that, but you maybe already know that buyers are over solicited. So don't be also determined in your communication to keep the link, to strengthen that link, to develop it also in the step of the launch of the product, and attach a particular importance to the initiation phase and the establishment of the supply chain. Just to conclude, I have seen many times in my experience very friendly relation at the beginning and very interest share by the seller, by the buyers, and a wow effect about the product. But due to a lack of obstination, to a lack of communication, to a problem of language, it slowly disappear. And so be determined. It's a nice market, and I can keep talking about that for a long minute, but now it's time to stop. So maybe you have question, and I will be. You will have all my coordinate at the end of the presentation that I will send to you, of course.
Thank you, Bernard. Thank you for this wonderful presentation. We actually had several questions. Our colleague from Italy is asking about different approaches, especially from, maybe you can tell something about specialty food stores and about HoReCa sector. And we also had a question about some examples of innovative or some novelty products. So for now, we have these questions.
The first question from it is the notion of origin. That's it. As I said, you maybe, if possible, but I know that in Italy you are very strong for that, to together as several producers from the same region with a complementary product, and do the promotion not only of one product but of a region, of art de vivre, of a lifestyle of the region, and it will help the buyers for the storytelling. everybody know today the importance of storytelling. So it is linked with the notion of origin, and it's the notion of origin is more and more important. The consumer want to know where the products come from. So with of course in Italy you have wonderful region in the north, in the south, and Italian food is and premium Italian food is very appreciated in France. And I don't know, it's what to say. It's a very competitive market, but your main asset is your origin. I can say it's your origin.
Thank you. I think
I
yes.
think the answer is not my answer was not enough, but what you have to do is, I said in the direct approach, you have to write a presentation in French if possible, insisting on the origin of the product, and sell it to the send it, sorry, to the buyers, and with explanation, and obtain a meeting. And you have to know, as I said, that it will take time, but it's the way to do it. I can, it's so specific, but maybe you will have my coordinate on the presentation, that of course I will send it to you. Don't hesitate to link with me on my email address, on my LinkedIn, and I will give a more accurate answer. Yes. Irina, do you have another suggestion?
Yes, I'm checking. I have just sent your email address in the chat. For those who have some questions, you're welcome to send some emails to Bernard.
There was a question about innovative product.
Yes.
But rather than innovative, I would say yes. For example, an innovative product, eggs. That I saw that a few days ago. An eggs totally composed with natural element, but that doesn't come from chicken. It's recompose eggs with all the product that you can find in eggs, but without animal origin. And for a niche market of vegan, for niche market of flexitarianism, it can be an asset to have something that look like an egg, that have all the quality of an egg, but without being from the animal product. It's an example, but you see, when I speak about the notion of origin, it could be, I don't know, that there is so much the sirop d'érable of Quebec, Honey from Slovenia. There's so much wine from Portugal. There's so much, yes, Italian food. there is so much that sorry, I can send to you my chocolate. I've worked with cocoa from Brazil. It's a real notion of origin. After you have some innovation in chocolate, chocolate very pure with I don't know. There's so much of fruit from South America. I very appreciate vanilla from Madagascar or from La Réunion. There's so much example. Whatever you are selling. I don't know if your product is a cake, is a pastry from somewhere. If there is an history, if there is an interest, why not? And it's real for every product. Every product.
I had the last question, and maybe we will need to finish. The last question comes from Jose, and he's asking whether we advise him to contact directly main retailers like Leclerc or Carrefour, or do you advise him to contact through a local partner such as a...
So my answer will be definitely begin by small importer, by regional importer, with human size importer, because you can work with big retailer if you know the rules and if you have already worked with them in your country, because it's so competitive. It how can I say, it's so sometimes even rude, the negotiation. So don't begin with big one, because you as I said, begin by the head. Begin by a small distributor that will give an history to your product, that will embody your product, and if you have a success locally, be sure that the buyers from the big brand will know about that and will interest about you. But begin by a regional, and maybe you have to choose. Sorry to be so long, but you know, in France we have a a culture for the north of France, a culture for the south of France, and maybe in the sensibility you have to choose maybe someone in the north of France or in the south of France. So if you want to touch everybody, of course, Paris, but it's hard to give a common response, but definitely begin by most of the business is run by SMEs. That's it, Irina. Thank you to everybody. It was a pleasure for me.
Thank you to all our participants. It was a pleasure seeing you online. So if you have any questions, feel free to contact us. We will send you all materials within...
Irina,
yes.
let just me finish with that, because get the opportunity to come at Rungis with us. It's really an opportunity. It's free. It's a possibility that we can give to you because of our partner, and get this opportunity, and feel free to connect with Irina. We have not too many places, but we have some. So don't hesitate. It's a real opportunity. I will finish on that. Thank you. And Irina, the last word for you.
Yes, I'm waiting for your emails. We'll be happy to have you on board for this Rungis visit. So feel free to contact me. We'll be happy to see you. Thank you all.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.